Another day at work. The same repetitive task over and over. You wonder why you're even alive, and how long ago you lost your desire to pursue your hopes and dreams. Now, imagine that the repetitive task you have to do is to play League of Legends in Smurf queue all day. Everyone actively AFKs games, wants to lose, troll pick, etc. All because no one really cares about their accounts. It's solo queue, but literally 20 times worse, and you wonder why anyone would ever subject themselves to it. So anyway, for this week, we sent Hector into Smurf queue. As our low ELO connoisseur, he's going to help us discuss 5 overly common mistakes for every role which a ton of lower ELO players make. These are big but simple errors you might be making which could really be holding you back from climbing.
And before we get into it, we created a brand new custom course specifically for this guide at skillcap.com. It's there you can unlock 8 additional site exclusive guides where our SkillCap Challenger expert Hector walks you through exactly how to carry in solo queue in every ELO. Find out more along with a discount code at the end of this guide. Now, back to the video.
So let's jump right into things and see if you're making the same errors other players in your ELO are making. Starting with top, a very common thing Hector gets away with is never being punished for having bad lane states, especially when he greeds and doesn't take teleport in matchups where he probably should. Let's show you what we mean during this match where he's playing Nasus. The enemy Mordekaiser has early lane control, as he should versus a weak early champion. In response, Hector's jungler does what you've all experienced as a top laner. Nunu forces a gank despite only being level 2 and there being a massive wave defending Mordekaiser. Needless to say, the gank is incredibly sloppy, and Hector ends up burning his flash to get away with his life. In high ELO, this lane is completely over for him now. A good top laner would get a guaranteed 3 to 4 level lead and crush the game easily. Let's watch how Mord proceeds though. He ends up crashing the wave and taking a recall. This isn't bad as he needs to restore his health, but this is the moment of truth. If you were Mordekaiser, after having taken Hector's flash and crashing the wave, would you teleport back to lane or save your cooldown for a later time?
Oh, honestly, I think he should have just teleported back. I think it's a big mistake to not teleport back here. I was completely boned.
And there you have it. If you didn't consider teleporting back to beat Nasus here, then you're not punishing your opponents nearly as much as you should be. Mordekaiser might have the wrong idea about saving teleport now. Before the nerfs, after crashing a wave, you could walk back to lane and save your teleport to roam to another lane later on. That's because, as we can see, the wave was pushing back into Mordekaiser and there would be no reason for him to teleport back. But now that you can't TP to other lanes before 14 minutes, you should really be abusing how overpowered teleport is for your own lane, especially when your opponent doesn't have teleport. Here's what Mordekaiser should have done.
Okay, so I was completely boned. If you take teleport, you should definitely pressure someone who doesn't have teleport. Imagine if he just teleported back and then forced me to stay at an item disadvantage, and then he just froze the wave in my face. I literally can't play the game. My champion just sucks too much. I could never break the freeze. And then he just sets up a gank and I'm dead because I have no flash. Instead, he didn't teleport back. I get a crash and now I'm chilling. I'm just going to hit level 6 and ghost him down and kill him.
As you clearly heard, Hector believes he should have lost the game here. Instead, he goes unpunished as a Nasus who has one of the worst starts possible thanks to Nunu's gank. And as Hector predicted, he hits level 6, then looks for an all-in timing when Mordekaiser misses his Q and the lane is won. This is a very simple thing to fix. You should always be on the lookout to abuse teleport to get a really good lane state, especially now that it's nerfed. Setting up something like an unbreakable freeze could literally win you the game if done well early on, and it seems that very few players in low ELO ever do so. Moving on to mid, this concept applies to all roles, but is especially important for mid as champions here are significantly more ability reliant. Basically, low ELO players really suck at punishing cooldowns. Let's see some context real quick. Hector has gone from playing Nasus top to playing Annie mid this game. Honestly, the jokes write themselves when reviewing Hector. This one would be too easy, so we'll let it go. Anyway, abusing his S-tier champion, Hector manages to easily set up a kill on Vladimir by creating a freeze and taking an all-in with his level lead. Now Vladimir should know that both his Tibbers and Ignite are down, which are Annie's most threatening tools during lane. Let's hear what Hector has to say as they're both back in lane.
He should be able to play a bit more aggressively onto me right now if he felt like it. He does have a cooldown advantage, he has ult, he has Ignite, I don't. So even though I have a level advantage, I would personally be playing very, very aggressively on me right now. Like, look at how I'm playing. He should not be showing me this much respect.
It sounds obvious, but players let these types of advantages slip them by all the time. It doesn't matter if you're in a bad matchup or you're down in levels and gold. If your opponent's important spells are down, then you need to punish them should they give you an opening. Take a look at a couple moments later as Hector's Graves forces a Rift Herald. Hector wants to help, but he's so easily zoned by the Vladimir that he can't fight back. This is what the lane should have looked like if Vladimir had been playing properly. A quick tip you should do if you don't have all ability cooldowns memorized is to open up the wiki of the champion you're against when you're loading into the game. By doing so, you can get a good idea of how long you have to punish your opponent's cooldowns every time they use them. For example, in this Fizz game versus Zed, his opponent uses his Shadow to try and combo Hector.
Okay, he has no Shadow now. It's quite good. So he is vulnerable for about 15 seconds now. So like 5:25, I can't really commit to a trade anymore.
Knowing the approximate cooldown of Zed's Shadow gives him the confidence he needs to fully commit his combo. And just with that basic info, he scores a very easy kill. Here's a fun thought experiment. If McBaze complains about Zed being weak and no one is around to hear it, is the champ actually weak or still secretly OP? We'll let you decide. Moving on to jungle. One of the biggest issues most low elo players have is just not being efficient. Wasting too much time on ganks, bad pathing routes, bad camp clearing techniques, etc. Being the better jungler in low elo can often just be about being faster than your opponent. All of those take time and effort to get better at though. But here's an easy mistake you can fix that a ton of low elo players make, which wastes a ton of their time. After you gank a lane, stop sticking around to get turret plates with your teammate, especially if you've got anything else you could be doing. For example, after ganking top, what do you think is better? Hitting the tower with your teammate and getting 3 turret plates, or invading the enemy Krugs and your top laner only getting 2 plates? The answer is obvious, and it's even a conservative example. You can often get 2 to 3 camps in the time it would have taken you sitting there hitting the tower. It's especially relevant because turret plates are harder to take based on how many champions are in the area as a tower is dying. You hitting the tower with your teammate doesn't really speed up the process all that much. If you're a fan of Hector and you've watched his commentaries on the site, then this tip will come as no shock, as he often rants about this nearly every single game when he plays other roles.
I hate my Gragas so much. He's just here to share gold with us. When he has his Krugs and Raptors up, I love junglers. They're all awesome.
Let's show you what this looks like from his perspective when playing jungle. Right now he's diving and Ezreal left all alone in bot.
Excellent. So a thing a lot of low elo junglers do is they do this thing where like they stick around. Wait, what is this?
Now this is how you play well. Instead of wasting time hitting the tower, he efficiently hands Morgana nearly 1,000 gold. Apply this in your games and you'll be climbing ranks in no time. Moving on to ADCs, a very common mistake we still see in low elo is based on their starting item.
So this guy's D-Blade, that's not very good for multiple reasons. So I don't think he's really thinking about what his goal in this lane should be. So D-Blade already tells me he doesn't know what he's doing.
Right now, Doran's Blade has really fallen out of favor in bot lane for quite a few reasons. Mythic items are really strong as a first item spike, and starting Longsword lets you get to them 350 gold faster. Doran's Blade also only gives you 1 health potion, whereas starting Longsword gives you 3 potions to work from. The Omnivamp from Doran's Blade is almost completely irrelevant during the early game, and having more potions is very useful, especially in lanes where you're bound to eat a lot of poke. And Longsword even gives 2 more AD than Doran's Blade, which can potentially help all-ins. The only time Doran's Blade is really taken anymore is versus all-in lanes, where you need the flat health to survive some burst, but even then it's fallen very out of favor among a lot of players. And Jin's choice was especially bad this game, as we're seeing.
Excellent. So you see he's not really retaining his health, and he doesn't realize that he needs a lot of sustain in this lane versus Yuumi and Sivir, which means he can't really all in anymore. So he needed to go boost 4 potions or Longsword 3 health potions, and then he needed to preserve his health a bit more. I'm not even playing that well, and I'm already crushing this guy.
Doran's Blade is just too common in low elo to not point this out. It feels like most players are still starting this item in a lot of their games, and you should definitely be adapting your purchase in the current meta. Otherwise, you could lose the game instantly as this Jhin did. Finally, for support, we won't be looking at a mistake that Hector punished, but rather a skill that most low elo supports tend to not focus on too much when trying to get better: their wave knowledge. After this random skirmish in the river, let's watch Hector's next decision to show you what we mean.
I'll just start basing here. The wave is totally fine. I mean, Caitlyn can push this on her own. I'm just gonna base, get a tempo recall off. She should be able to crash this for free. and I'm just going to potentially roam. So you see how this wave is coming back into me? Look how much, like, so Caitlyn's about to crash the wave. She's going to recall. And so I have like a long amount of time to roam wherever I want. I see the wave is pushing back into Gwen right now, or was. Now the Kayla's just slow. I'm just going to go try and pressure this. Then I'm just going to bubble. W, and look where the wave is. Right, you see how Caitlyn's not in any danger? I could predict that from all the way over here because, you know, we killed Alistar.
Be honest, most of you would have just gone back to the bottom with Caitlyn to help her shove after this fight, and then reset along with her. That's mostly because you're not actively thinking about what everyone wants to do with the wave, both your own teammates and your opponents. Here's a very good tip for learning to get better at support. Throughout a game, look at a minion wave in a lane. Then challenge yourself to accurately predict how a wave may or may not look a minute or even 2 minutes from now. As you get better and better at that, you'll find that you'll see opportunities like this one much more often, and you'll be carrying significantly more games. Remember that most decisions in the early stages of the game are based almost entirely around minion waves. Just because you're a support doesn't mean you should avoid learning this skill. It's as crucial for you as any other role.
And if you really want to learn how to carry in solo queue, then you need our brand new custom course made specifically for this guide at skillcap.com. It's there, you'll unlock 8 additional site-exclusive guides where our skill cap challenger expert Hector walks you through exactly how to implement what you've learned in this video in far more detail. The best part is that all of this is risk-free with our rank improvement guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Head to skillcap.com and get the rank you've always wanted. Discount link in the description below.
Anyway, guys, that's all 5 tips. We hope these help you get better at your own role. And if you care to watch, the full-length commentaries will be in the course that this video is featured in on the site. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.